Hello, welcome to Star Blood Chronicles. I'm your captain, Dragon Paw. This is episode 9, my Halloween slash Dia de los Muertos special. Please enjoy the information. I will be talking about the connections between Samhain and Halloween, and also how to build an altar for your family members and ancestors of long ago for Dia de los Muertos. It's a traditional thing that we do. And at the very end of this episode, I'm giving you a treat. You may have heard of this story, but I'm giving you an actual account from a woman who had an encounter with La Llorona. Yeah. La Llorona, everyone knows her in Mexico. And it translates to the weeping woman. So enjoy. Bye bye now. Hello, star seeds, ghouls, goblins, and goons. This is episode 9, the season 1 finale of Halloween, Dia de los Muertos, Samhain, and the story of La Llorona. First, let us begin with the connection of the Celtic Samhain and Halloween. Samhain, it's spelled Sam-Hain, but you do not say it that way. It's pronounced Samhain, and it has everything to do with the changing of the seasons. It too is celebrated on October 31st through November 1st, also known as the suffering of the sun, because it meant winter had arrived. In the mind of the Celts, the sun every year at this time fell victim to the winter's darkness. See what I'm saying? Which is why it's called Samhain, meaning with death, or in modern English, it means summer's end. The Celts also understood that the veil between the physical and the spiritual was at its weakest. Therefore, celebration of harvest as well as their late loved ones was made into a party-like festival. This too is the reason for Halloween. Only in the US it seems to have lost its respect for the fallen. What it is now is a sugar-fueled night of mischief and debauchery. I bet you didn't know that the game Bobbing for Apples came from the Samhain tradition, and that it was actually a way to find out if someone you liked was a good match for you. Yep, it was a love fortune-telling game. The way it worked was one person would put their apple in the water, but before that you had to write or carve the name of the person that you really liked and the person that you wanted to be with you on the apple. Then, if you got the apple on the first try, it was a great match, even for marriage. If you got the apple the second time, it was okay enough to pursue the relationship, but like sleep with one eye open type of thing. Then people who got the apple either on the third try or not at all, that meant not a good relationship to start, probably person with red flags. Or maybe you're the red flag. The next connection with Samhain and Halloween is the carving of pumpkins. The Celts and many other populations of people carved faces into vegetables for ages and ages. But as time progressed, we all moved to metal lanterns. But when the price for metal got too high, people began to carve into vegetables again to use as lanterns or as a way to ward off vengeful fae, ghouls, and or goblins. This is now just for decor in the Western world. Everything about tradition in the West is now diluted and has no true meaning. It's all about consumption. But go back to your ancestors, go back to your roots, and you will find true tradition. Now, speaking of tradition and my roots, we're going to move on to Dia de los Muertos, a celebration in Mexico for I don't even know how many years. I guess I should have looked that up. But we don't see death as an end. It is much like the Egyptians have always seen it, as a new beginning, an awakening. It is on November 1st and November 2nd of every year. It is 2 days of offering, remembering, traditions of celebrating life. People celebrate it and do different things for Dia de los Muertos. Day of the Dead, to those that don't speak Spanish. But one of the ways to lead the your family members to your home to get energy from you, you can start by kind of making an archway. There's a huge symbolism about thresholds that the spirit world just loves, I guess. So you could build an archway in your front yard or decorate your front door as one. It just gives your ancestors and your family members that have passed a path to follow, in order to find the way. It's an invitation for your bloodline to come and visit you. It is not for random spirits. A lot of Halloween decorations, it's too open to any spirit because there is no direction placed in Halloween decorations. So you're basically saying, come on in, anything. Especially with a welcome mat. You don't want to have a welcome mat. It gives necessary energy to your late family members. When I say it, I mean like the preparation that you give from the decoration to the family altar. The altar is where they will go and feed off of the energy that you place on it for them. The altar that the Dia de los Muertos tradition uses can be, you'll see bright orange flowers. Those are marigold. Flowers represent earth. So that's an element, right? When you see the sugar skulls or just skulls in general for everything, that's the number one symbol that relates you to your family member. For like you I once was, and like them we shall be. I know the quote doesn't go exactly like that, but basically we all have a skeleton, and then our skeleton gets buried, but the spirit lives on. So a skull means so much more than what people on TV try to say, that it's scary and this and that. No, it's your direct link to your ancestry. Trust me. It is a symbol that connects you with your family members that have gone, and your ancestors that you've never even met from long ago. It's a reminder of where we're all going, never to be attached to this existence. The body is finite. You also want to use photos of past loved ones, but you must only use photos of people that are from your family line, like from, you know, yeah, you can have a past friend, but the family altar is specific. That one you want to be your DNA relations to give them the energy and strength that they need. Do not put a photo of yourself with them on an altar for the dead. Okay? Huge mistake. You're going to start getting the dead energy if you put yourself on an altar for the dead. Just don't do it. Just make sure it's family members that are gone, and either way, ancestors that you don't even know or have pictures of will still show up, and I'll tell you how in a little bit. So the plain altar that you see when you go to Mexico, drenched all over the place, even in all the cemeteries, you'll see the marigolds, the flowers, the pan, which is bread, toys. You leave toys because there's November 1st and November 2nd, and I think November 1st is for the children and November 2nd is for the adults, or vice versa. Don't quote me on that one. But yeah, you can leave whatever you want. Beer, alcohol, wine, soda, everything they loved in this life. Because that energy, they're going to go and absorb it from you. You don't even have to open the can. You could put a watermelon, and the energy will be removed by family members that have passed. And that's what you'll mainly see for people who just do it for those couple of days, right? But the number one rule when you do leave an offering, you do not ever reuse it. Its energy is gone, and if you were to even try to drink a beer that you offered the next day, it's like the most disrespectful thing you could ever do. So once you've offered something in a day or two, if it's liquid, you could dump it. If it's food, you trash it. And you could dig it up too in the earth if you want, but other animals might get to it. But basically, what you offer, you never take back. Ever. Ever. You got that? Okay, now that you get that part, now let's get to the serious part, because I know people are here not for the child's play, but how to build a true ancestral altar. So here we go. Now you're going to always want the 4 elements in play, because that alone builds a vortex of energy. When you copy or use what the universe uses, that's how you build energy. Okay? The 4 elements: earth, water, fire, and air. The fifth element is spirits. So that's you. And those are 5 elements. But what we need right now for the base of the altar, the best thing for earth would be a wooden table. Place it on something that is made out of wood. And that way you don't have to put dirt on your altar. The next thing you do, you put water or the other substitutions with energy in them are beer, wine, etc., etc. Liquid has energy and you offer it on your altar. Next, you have the white candle. The white is best to use because it's open-ended. The color white doesn't mean anything specific until you program it to be specific. You wouldn't use a colored candle because those stand for specific things. So just get a white candle, and when you light it, that's not only turns on the altar, but it's actually the energy and element of fire. So the frequency of fire is turned on. Now, air is cool. To have the element of air on your altar, you can either burn incense or have a bird's feather. That's why you see feathers a lot on altars. People don't understand what it means, but it's the element of air that you're offering. And yeah, you can have a glass altar. That kind of works because it has the minerals. Glass is made out of minerals, like I've said before. It's sand. There's sand inside glass, which can act as dirt, which is earth. But wood is more solid, and I like to use natural elements. The next thing you do, like I said, on the other altars, the child's play altars, you do put pictures of only past loved ones and never of anyone alive. Never do that. Don't put it on there because you're bringing bad energy to that person. Just family members or even trinkets that represent your culture or your lineage. Like I have a little stone carving of an Aztec jaguar, so that works for me, you know. Any type of food, really. There's no there's no wrong answers to food. Especially if there's a get together or it's someone's birthday, serve them a full plate and put it on the altar. Don't be shy. Feed your family as if they're there with you because they are. You can also burn joss. It's what they call ancestor money. My Asian friends know about this. Their parents do it all the time. You have these paper dollar bills with the Jade Emperor on them, I think, and you burn currency as energy too, and that'll also give your family members and ancestors more and more energy. And this altar is not just a one holiday a year thing. This is a everyday altar. You can offer anything you want and just make your lineage happy. And hopefully someone does it for you when you're gone, because you'll want energy even in the spiritual world. Now, this last bit of information you don't have to do if you do everything correctly that I said, but this is something that'll definitely direct the offerings straight to people in your family and your ancestors that you know and that you don't know from years and years of ancient history in your family. And you can use simply your hair. Put your hair on the altar or sprinkle some chopped up bits in the candle. While you burn it, it'll be a direct link to your ancestry. And they'll thank you and love you for it. You're welcome. And now let's get into a little of folklore. This is the story of La Llorona. This is her origin story, but no one really knows where it actually came from. The earliest documentation is traced back to Mexico City in 1550. Now, is it folklore or true lore, as I like to say? A lot of people that have experienced things learn the hard way that some folklore is actually true lore to them. Let's begin. In a village long, long ago, there lived a beautiful young woman named Maria, or Maria. All the men wanted her for their bride, but she wanted no part of them. Until one day, an extremely wealthy nobleman traveled through her village, then stopped dead in his tracks when he laid eyes upon her. Maria was charmed by the man's look and stature. He proposed to her on the spot, and she immediately accepted. Her family was happy that they too would be wealthy by the marriage. However, the man's father was angry with his son wanting to marry a poor woman. Maria and the man made a home far away from the disapproving father, and there she had 2 children. After a while, the man stayed away from home more and more. And when he was home, he mainly paid all his attention to the kids. Maria began to feel like he was falling out of love with her. One day, the man left and never returned. Years later, Maria saw a lovely-looking carriage with a young bride within it, only to see her husband as the new groom. In a fit of rage and revenge, Maria grabbed her children and forced their heads under the water in a river until the bubbles stopped. In instant regret and sorrow, she then drowned herself in the same river. She is now forever cursed to walk around bodies of water in search of her babies, as well as yours. And that is the quick and concise story you hear from time to time. People say she had 2 boys, and then there's some stories that say it was a boy and a girl. Who knows? We don't know. But the meaning to the story carries a lot of weight, not just in my culture, but I think it's traveled from ancient cultures into this modern one now. There are people who claim that the moral or meaning behind the story is the death of our indigenous future. The indigenous was of villagers that knew the natural way. The man of the tale represents the colonizer and how they tried to breed out the natural ways to the people of the land. When the children spent more time with the father, that meant the future is forever going to be changed. And so Maria cries for the indigenous ways of her people. Him being unfaithful made her realize her grave mistake. She represents Mother Earth wailing for the betrayal that happened to her and the land. It is a painful merging of the indigenous population with the Spaniards. I bet you guys didn't even know that Spaniards is derogatory towards the Spanish. Spaniards actually meant Spanish bastards. Just so you know. And every time I hear the story of La Llorona, it just reminds me of other curses we've all heard about, and they always befall women. The Greek tale of Medusa, another beautiful woman taken advantage of by the patriarch. The god Poseidon ravaged her, and in jealousy, Athena mutated her into the monster we all know as Medusa. A common thread in oral stories from the beginning of time. It's like fear the woman. Hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn. What is that? Toxic masculinity? I don't know. That's your call. But there's another Greek myth of Medea, and I believe she killed her children too in some sort of a rage. And yeah, so last but not least, for my listeners, I have an encounter of the actual entity La Llorona. And I will be narrating it in story form. Have fun listening and have a good Dia de los Muertos. Peace. This encounter was sent to me by a woman from San Antonio, Texas. She wants to remain anonymous, and this is her true story. And now, a true encounter of La Llorona. I was about 10 years old when I went to Mexico to visit my grandmother. I loved going to meet with her. She had a little cabin by a lake, and the scenery was beautiful. I lived in San Antonio with my parents, so I had a lot of fun at my grandma's house. I got to see so many different animals. Definitely a stark contrast to the city life. I thought she was so sweet and cool because she knew a lot about nature. I even saw her handle a snake like it was a pet. She for sure knew how to cook too. So, one of the nights we were there at my grandma's house, I decided I wanted s'mores. I never had them up until this point, so it was perfect time to do it outside with a campfire. So my dad made one, and after a little while, my dad took it upon himself to start telling scary stories. And he began telling us of La Llorona. Midway through the story, my grandma stormed out of the house and told my dad to stop. I've never seen her talk so angrily to my dad like that. When he stopped, I realized how dark and creepy the surroundings became. I could only see around the firelight, and that was not much. The woods around us were black. Being scared at the moment, but I didn't like hold on to it or anything. I forgot about it quick. Around our last days of the visit, my brother and I wanted to play hide and seek. He was always able to find me so fast, and I vowed this time that it wouldn't happen again. I got real competitive for some reason. So I got the idea to run into the forest even deeper than I ever had before. I was hoping he would give up the search. That means I would win. So I take off into the woods farther than I've ever gone before, and I come across a huge looking tunnel, like inside of a hill. I've never seen it before. I knew this would be a great place to hide. As I got to the tunnel, I remember a really nasty smell coming from the inside. I walk in halfway because I really didn't want him to find me. After a while, he never came. So I started walking to the opening of the tunnel. I could see that the sun was almost all the way down, and as I reached the exit, I heard a groan coming from behind me. I'm frozen, but I slowly turn around to see what it is. And there, maybe 10 feet back in the tunnel, is a woman. She looks bad, like beat up and dirty, really messed up. Crazy jet black hair, long. She had on a dress that was also long and tattered, like she had been through it. It was so gross, but seemed like it was white at one point. Stains of black all over her, like dried blood, and brown dirt were just covering her this dress. I realized she was crying. This is when I knew something was really wrong. When she started coming closer to me, I couldn't move. My eyes were open, but my body wasn't responding. That's when the smell got even stronger. My mind said run, but nothing was happening. I noticed how deformed her face was. That's when I closed my eyes and the smell started to dissipate. I opened my eyes and she was gone. So I took off from the tunnel and collapsed right outside of it and started bawling my eyes out. I ran as good as I could and made it back after that. The whole time it felt like running in a dream, like slow motion. Once I got back to the house, I jumped into my bed. My brother was already in his bed, And what was weird is that he never said anything to me, never asked where did I go or yell at me or anything for being gone for so long. Even my parents were quiet the whole night. No one said anything to me. I always thought they must have thought that we were tired and just left us alone that night. So obviously, it was hard to sleep that night. But at some point, I must have fallen asleep because I remember waking up and looking at the clock. It was about 3 a.m. Everything felt wrong again. Then I started to smell the tunnel smell again. While I was freaking out, the wailing began. While I was freaking out, the wailing continued. That's when I knew she followed me home. My eyes darted to our open door. There, I could see her silhouette and a little bit of the dress. Last thing I remember is reaching for a cross my grandma had on our nightstand. I closed my eyes, clutching that cross. It felt like it was digging into my hand. That's when the sounds and the smell finally left the room. I do not spend the night at my grandmother's house anymore.